Ready? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we still have some of the supervisors having lunch. However, we're running late. And I'd like to call the APC meeting for September the 12th, 2023 to order. And roll call.
Thank you. Board Member Campos.
Here.
Board Member Garral. Here. Board Member Lavere.
Here.
Board Member Long.
Here.
Board Member Lopez.
Here.
Board Member McQueen Lejeune. Board Member Mendez.
Here.
Board Member Parvin.
Here.
Board Member Whitman.
Here.
And Chair Zaragoza.
Here.
Okay.
Thank you. So we have a quorum. So item number 4 is, or 3 is Pledge of Allegiance. Please follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for
which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, that's okay. Okay, item number 4 is the minutes of the Air Pollution Control Board for June 13, and June 27, and July 11th.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, the second, I'll second it. Oh, okay, Mendez, second by Mendez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is approved. Thank you. Our next item is agenda review and consider approval of the majority vote, any minor revisions, any of the attachments. Any council members have any concerns with this item number 5? No? Okay. So if we need a vote on that,
Thank you,
all in
Chair
favor?
Lavere. We're talking about agenda review.
We do?
Yes, for item 13 on the regular agenda, 2 public comment letters have been submitted.
Okay, thank you.
So now,
So we need a vote on this item? All in favor? I'll meet up, vote first of all. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're under public comments. This is item 6, this time set aside for the citizen presentation regarding the Air Pollution Control District. Related might not appear on the regular agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Thank you, Chair Zaragoza. For members of the public, if you're watching online, please visit ventura.org/COB/APCB for public participation information and instructions. For in-person public comment, please come forward and check in with our clerk of the board staff. If you're on Zoom, please press the raise hand button. We did have several people register but did not indicate item numbers. So again, if you want to speak on general public comment, please press the raise hand button now. We're seeing none. Thank you, Chair Zaragoza.
So there's none. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and go to item 7, board comments. Any comments by board members? None at all? Okay, then we'll go ahead and go to item number 8. And it's air pollution control officer comments and any brief announcements.
Yes.
Mr. Ali?
Good afternoon, Chair Zaragoza, members of the board, Ali Ghasemi, ABCD Executive Officer. In regard to personnel and vacancies, there is nothing new since my last report, except for the PIO position that we are currently conducting hiring interviews, and we should be able to fill this position in the next few weeks. In regard to APCD program, all divisions are continuing to work on their respective tasks. There are 2 items of interest that I would like to bring it to the board for their attention, your attention. We completed the draft exceptional event mitigation plan, referred to as EEMP, and submitted to CARB for review and comments last Friday, September 8. The plan is to address exceedances of the 2012 National Ambient Air Quality Standard for PM10 and 2015 National Ambient Air Quality Standard for ozone. This is a federal requirement which requires the areas such as Ventura County with known seasonal or historically documented exceptional events to develop and implement a mitigation plan. And as per title, the Code of Federal Regulations, section 51.930. The second item is regarding to APCD Vessel Speed Reduction Program, or Blue Whale, Blue Sky. I would like to inform you that unfortunately AB 953 didn't make it to our Senate appropriation, and it died in the Senate appropriation. However, staff is continuing to seek funding through a state to keep the momentum of this program and continue to realize the environmental benefits. That's all I have. I'm here to answer any question you may have.
Do we have any questions for Ali? No questions? Okay, thank you. Item number 9 is a receive and file, a status report regarding the district application for Section 105 grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
Yes. For the record, Ali Ghasemi, Executive Officer of Ventura County APCD. Staff is informing your board that in August 2023, we filed an application with EPA to obtain funding in the amount of $1.192 million. This grant is to provide financial assistance to local air pollution control districts in support of EPA mandated programs. To provide you with little background, on December 13, 1994, your board authorized the APCO to submit application for EPA grants. Also in January 11, 2000, your board approved authorization for the APCO to accept and execute grant award offers for EPA, from EPA, not exceeding the prior year's award in the amount more than 20% the budgeted amount. That's all I have, and I'm ready to take any question you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Set in the motion. Even though it's a receive and file, we can still vote on it, right? I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mendez, second by Parvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That is approved. Item number 10, I'm going to go read the whole thing, Lisa. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to ask Mr. Tyler Harris, our Planning Division Manager, to present that to your board.
Thank you. Okay.
Good afternoon, Chair Zaragoza, members of the board. My name is Tyler Harris. I'm Division Manager for the district. This item requests approval of one infrastructure grant through the Carl Moyer program, and it also requests approval of 3 Carl Moyer program grant amendments to increase the grant amounts as explained in the board letter. Total funding request for this item is $318,230, and it is distributed as follows. A grant for Director Marine Holdings to assist in installation of publicly accessible electric boat charging station in Ventura Harbor, which will provide fast DC charging for zero-emission and hybrid commercial and recreational boats. Proposed grant is $20,432, and the total cost of the project is $34,054, including grantee cost share. The second item is increasing the maximum grant amount to Wayne J. Sand and Gravel Incorporated for a project previously approved by your board to replace 2 industrial bulldozers with 1 low-emission new bulldozer. The grantee initially planned to purchase used equipment, but equipment availability was limited. They requested an increase in the grant amount so they could purchase a brand-new replacement bulldozer. Staff is requesting to increase the grant amount $230,000 from $400,000 to $630,000, where the total project cost is now $949,000. The third item is adding a third agricultural tractor replacement project and increasing the maximum grant amount for Marmolejo Farms Incorporated for a project previously approved by your board. Staff prematurely eliminated a third tractor from consideration, and to ensure each applicant is treated fairly, staff is requesting your board add the third tractor replacement to this grant. Staff is requesting a grant increase of $52,130 for a tractor that costs $85,560, including cost share. Finally, for another previously approved project, staff has determined that they underestimated the capabilities of the existing equipment that would be replaced using grant funds awarded to Nathan A. Parsons. And again, to ensure that all applicants are treated fairly, staff requests your board approve an increase to the maximum grant amount of $15,668 to a not to exceed amount of $47,164. Total cost of the proposed project, including cost share by the applicant, is $67,378. Staff will administer the grant agreements and ensure all contract requirements are met for processing payments. Completed projects will be monitored according to the Carl Moore Program guidelines. That's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, board members? Okay, no questions. Need a motion on this item? Motion by Long, second by Andrew Whitman. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That is approved. Our next item is a public hearing regarding adoption of proposed Rule 7435 flares, and find that the adoption of the proposed rule is exempt from CEQA, and that the adoption is a statutory rulemaking finding for the proposed Rule 74-35 flares, and approval of the adoption of the Rule 7435 flares, and to direct the Air Pollution Control Officer to file a CEQA notice in the exemption pursuant to CEQA guidelines, Section 15062. And I'm going to open the public hearing then.
Again, Ali Ghassemi, Executive Officer for the purpose of record keeping. The item that I have before you is adoption of Rule 74.35, which is a new rule. I'm going to go through what was the purpose of developing this rule and just give you a little regulatory background and summary of the proposed requirement, and then I'm going to end it with public engagement process. We developed Rule 74.35 for two reasons. First of all, for California Health and Safety Code requires requires areas that they are in non-attainment area, and Ventura County is designated as a serious non-attainment area, to adopt control measures that reduces precursors, ozone precursors, which are NOx and ROCs. At the same time, because of AB 617, we came to your board and adopted an expedited schedule for implementation of BART. BART stands for Best Available Retrofit Control Technology, which was adopted in December of 2018 and full implementation by 12/31/2023, which is end of this year. Now, just to provide you with a little regulatory background, this is a new rule that applies to flare equipment that they are greater than 1 million BTU per hour. Who are the affected facilities? Affected facilities are oil and gas production facilities, landfills, digesters, ROC liquid loading, and as I said, in order to comply with AB 617, we have to implement BART, which is, this requirement is considered as BART. What are the proposed requirements? If you have a new replacement or relocated flares, the facility must submit with following emission limits. And these emissions are BART limit, and they have to comply by December 31st, 2023. I'm not going to go through these emission limits because it is tabled and it is in the rule. Now, if you are larger facilities, like the facilities that they are doing for new or replaced produced gas flares for facilities with ROC or NOx greater than equal 5 tons per year, or carbon monoxide greater than equal 100 tons per year, there is a tighter requirements. Like for replaced flares, the annual throughputs limits to 110% of 3 years average annual throughput of existing flare. If the records are not available, then it's going to be limited to 45 million standard cubic feet per year. For new flares, annual throughputs will be limited to 45 million standard cubic feet per year. Now, what happens with the existing flare? For existing flare, there is a method that we had to come up with. And this is, first, facilities, they should report to us their annual capacity threshold. What is the annual capacity of a flare means? We get the total annual fuel usage per se, how much they used during the year. We divide it by total hours of operation, excluding the emergency cases. This is in the numerator. Then we divide it by maximum capacity of that flare in an hour. These are, for example, they say this flare is capable of 1 million BTU per hour burning capacity. So, and then we come up with some kind of a percentage because it's unitless. If those percentage goes more than 70%, 20% based on the type of fuel that they are burning, and for 2 consecutive years, then there is a requirements. What are the requirements? Like where they have to prepare and submit flare reduction plan, because we want to reduce this flaring operation. And what is this? When the RFP, the FRP, which is flare reduction plan, must be submitted within 6 months from the second consecutive year exceedance, at the end of the second consecutive year exceedances, and then it must include 3 options. Either they have to tell us, for example, they're going to limit their throughput, they're going to replace or modify the flare to meet the applicable limits, or they meet the emission limits in Table 1 to enclosed flare, like enclose it and meet those conditions. Now, there are other additional requirements that I'm not going to go through it. It's in detail regarding any of these options, what they are required to do. But there are other requirements that they have to comply with. Then there are, besides this meeting this emission limit, there are other requirements too. Like they have to notify us of the inventory and the capacity of their flare. They have to submit the information within 30 days of the rule adoption. Then they have to have the best management practice, which is maintenance and other stuff, like including the fuel analysis. Then all new replaced or relocated flares must be labeled with model number and rated capacity after rule adoption. Also, all new replaced and relocated flares must be enclosed after 12/31/2023. And flame shall be smokeless from these flares after 12/31/2023, end of this year.
Ali, so the flare has to be enclosed, so no
Yes.
longer, you
There
can't,
is like a housing, they go around it. Like
okay.
right now, if you see open candle flares,
right.
candlestick.
But now, and there's a date for that. Okay.
Enclosing is going to create more efficiency. It's going to minimize the flaring, and the efficiency goes higher.
Oh, good. Thank you.
What are the flares that they are exempt? If the flare is less than 1 million BTU per hour, they are exempt. If they combust any propane or butane, certain landfill combusting less than 2,000 million cubic feet per year of gas, their flare is exempt. And flares used to well testing certain degassing operation and those combusting regeneration gas. Now, if the flares are subject to the rule, however, they can be exempt if the from the emission limits if the flare is emitting less than 30 pounds of NOx per month, flare limited to 200 hours of planned flaring per year, or flares permitted only for emergency use exempt per rule from B1 and B3. And hours operated during emergency, as I said, may be omitted from the percent capacity calculations. Now, there is a reporting requirement as well. This is actually due to the Colorado ruling. EPA actually requires that the facilities, they have to report to us on annual basis. How it was before was, we request a facility to record all of the mandatory reporting requirements, but keep it at the facility. And when the inspector goes to the facility and asks for it, they have to provide them with the information. Now, that option is, we could do the same thing, but at the same time, facilities are required to report their reporting requirements on an annual basis. Emission reduction, we believe among the flares in Ventura County, there will be 4 flares that they may end up being replaced. And if they become replaced, then the total emission reduction from NOx is about 7 tons, and from ROC, which is reactive organic compound, is about 6 tons per year. And that's said. And then flare use minimization, beneficial use, future installation of the ultra-low NOx flare. Now, regarding public engagement schedule, we had 2 public workshops, we had 2 advisory committee meetings, and we are here today for public hearing. And we had, the advisory committee members voted 11-0, yeah, so unanimously it was approved. So we notified all of the facilities prior to each engagement opportunity. Initial public workshop on May 13, as I stated, staff engagement with oil field flare operators and association. Then we had the second public workshop on June 6th, advisory committee meeting on June 27, and we have, then after this advisory committee, suddenly the wastewater treatment plant operators association requested meeting with us, and they expressed some concern regarding meeting these limits. And they were okay because we agreed with their concern. Why? Because they believe the digestive gas facility, like wastewater treatment facility, they are not large facilities. For minor facilities, they're gonna have a hard time to meet this requirement, and it's gonna be very costly, and they were correct. And our rule was more stringent than South Coast Air Quality Management District rule, which they are in actually very bad non-attainment area. So staff agree with the operator's request, and we reduce their limit for digestive gas in our new requirement that we put in. I think that's my end of presentation, so I'm here to answer any question you may have.
you.
Oh, one more thing. At the same time, we did an additional analysis to find out what are these facilities, are they located within the disadvantaged community, low-income community. Fortunately, none of these flares are in the disadvantaged communities. There are some in Oxnard, like we have a wastewater treatment facility in Oxnard. There are 3 in that area of less, like low-income communities. And we, at the same time, if the board is interested to know if we are doing any monitoring, all of our rules is to reduce emissions, so the impact to the community is being reduced as it was before this rule adoption. At the same time, all of our rule, most of our rule, when possible, like when it is combustion sources, it has source testing requirement, it has reporting requirements, and we inspect these facilities regularly.
Ali, don't we have a flare over on Edding Road and PV Road and Highway 1 in Oxnard?
Most likely.
Right close to the mobile home park? Isn't there
I don't know.
a flare over on Edding Road in Oxnard?
I think there is one.
That's probably the closest one then.
Yeah, I have the list of those if you're interested. I have the map that we located those. If you're interested, I can provide it to you. But we did our analysis, and we are minimizing flaring
them.
emission regardless.
Okay. Any question? Oh, well,
I did have a
Kelly?
couple questions. Were there a lot of attendance in these meetings?
Unfortunately, we don't have that many. Like the facilities, they send their associations. To me, we should have had more, but we haven't got it. But all we do is put it on the newspaper. We do all of the notification which is required, and we are asking them to participate. Like the second one, the waste treatment facilities, they didn't realize, I think the operator didn't realize the impact, or whoever looked at our notice so thought probably it doesn't affect them, or it shouldn't be that of a big deal. And suddenly association reminded them, no, it is something that you won't be able to, because you are a minor facility, you won't be able to actually meet those requirements.
Okay, that's good to know. I know our board was packed just a minute ago on gas and oil issues, so I'm shocked that they're not still here, because this is a really important topic. You stated that these rules and regulations are stricter than the air quality. So are they stricter than the state, or how did you come about with these numbers?
Okay. Usually this rule, when we look at any control measure, first we go and see what are the districts, like this was new rule. We looked at San Joaquin, South Coast, and we selected South Coast model. And then we look at what are the emission limits that they have. Usually it has to meet the BARC requirement. Where do I get these? Like these rules are being sent to state review them and accept them as BARC limit. So we know what is the limit that we have to put our facilities. Sometimes doesn't work. Like for example, if I'm in the South Coast, when I'm a major facility, maybe I will be able to meet those requirements, but in Ventura County, they may not. So we've worked with the facilities, especially big facilities, to see if this is something that they are comfortable with. There were a lot of back and forth between, especially oil and gas production facilities and staff. We even did field visit with them to see how they are doing, how well they can comply with our rules. And at the end, it is something that we have to get their consents, and it is just negotiation of what we need to do to accomplish and meet our requirements and what they need to do to comply with our rule without additional burdens. There are always costs associated with these rule requirements, but we don't want to put burden on the small facilities and very minor facilities. We like to minimize those as much as we can.
Great, and so this will go into effect for future flares and then any repair flares?
If
Is that
they
correct? I just
modify
wanted-
their flares, yeah, they relocated, yes, because it considered as a new modification.
Okay,
Or if they relocate even their flares.
thank you, appreciate it.
So last question from my part. Is there any penalties for folks that do not comply with the flaring?
The way it works is any of our rules is like if the facility cannot comply with the requirements, and it happens that they never discuss it with the staff that they have problem or anything, they get, like if the inspector goes up to the facility and they see they are out of compliance, they get notice of violation, yes.
Thank you. Okay, any other, Jeff?
Just to follow up on that, what agencies could enforce and inspect after full implementation? APCD and then any other federal or state that would enforce these beyond that?
Okay, this is our rules. Usually it is enforceable by district, but these rules, if, for example, there is flyover by NASA, for example, they see some methane gas going from any of these oil and gas production facilities. Usually we will be informed later, but when we go to the facility to see what's going on. I think state could enforce this, but this is most of the time, our rule is more stringent than state rules.
Good. Thank you. Madam Clerk, any speakers before we close the public hearing? Any speakers on this item? Brendan?
We have no request to speak. Thank you, Chair Zaragoza.
No? Okay, coming up. We got 3 minutes.
Hi, how are you? How's it going? All right.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Phil White. I live in Ojai, and like Ollie, I was an APCD director working on air pollution control programs in Ventura County. I've kind of morphed into climate change, and you'll be hearing me later as the Board of Supervisors. And I know that Ollie and his staff have pushed the beam forward as far as making improvements on emissions from flaring, and that's a good thing. I would reiterate what I said earlier in the board meeting about rolling back the oil and gas regulations, that flaring in general is a waste of precious energy resource, creates air pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, and really our society and our county, the APCD and the Board of Supervisors should be moving to eliminate flaring wherever they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Brendan, any other speakers?
I do not believe so. No one else has
Okay, if
approached us to
not,
speak. Thank you.
if not, we'll close the public hearing. And board members, any questions? If not, I need a motion.
I'll motion to approve.
Motion Kelly, second by Mendes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Our next item is item 12. This is adoption amended of the amended Air Pollution Control District Management Confidential Clerical and Other Represented Employee Resolution effective September 12, 2023, adding Article 23, a legacy retiree healthcare premium subsidy and reimbursement plan, and amending Article 5, the health insurance, with no material impact on the funding status of the retirement system. You're on. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Zaragoza, board members. I'm Marjorie Deal, your Manager of Classification and Compensation, and I'm here today with the following 2 recommendations. The first is to amend your management resolution for APCD by adding Article 23. This is the Legacy Retiree Healthcare Premium Subsidy and Reimbursement Plan. The amendment to the Management, Confidential, Clerical, and Other Unrepresented Employees Resolution will align with provisions that were recently negotiated with the respective unions and was added to the County of Ventura's Management Resolution. As you recall or may recall, in April, Visera resolved to exclude part of the flexible credit allowance for legacy participants, which resulted in a decrease to pension amounts upon retirement. New Article 23 will provide an offset to the lower pension amount by providing a monthly health care benefit for legacy employees upon retirement through an IRS-permitted health reimbursement arrangement. My second recommendation is to amend Article 5 of the APC Management Resolution merely to delete obsolete superseded sections and then renumber the remaining sections. With that, I'm open to any questions.
Any questions? Okay, Jeff,
I'd move the recommendation.
moved by Grell,
Second.
second by Campos. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our last item is item 13, approval of a 5% merit increase for the Air Pollution Control District Air Pollution Control Officer Executive Director, APCO, effective October 2nd, 2022, and approval of a new employment agreement for the IPCO. And we do have Matt. Matt, I know that we had, the standing committee had a recommendation and also a review of Mr. Hassem Ali's excellent work that he's done for APCD. So you want to share any additional information on this item?
Yes, no, good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Matt Escobedo. I'm a Deputy Executive Officer representing the County Executive Office Human Resources Division, and I'm here today to present 2 recommendations to you. The first is that you approve a proposed merit increase of 5% for our Air Pollution Control Officer with a retroactive date of October 2nd, 2022. And then second, that you authorize the chair to amend the employment agreement for the Air Pollution Control Officer, reflecting the proposed recommendation and any other amendments that the board may see fit to make. By way of background, following a meritorious personnel review, the board requested that staff conduct a total compensation survey for the classification of Air Pollution Control Officer to verify that the salary was competitive and to conduct an analysis of the tenure of existing air pollution control officers throughout the state of California. Following that review, our compensation study, which utilized the total compensation methodology utilized by the County of Ventura, market-based adjustments, found that the compensation was competitive. And regarding the analysis of tenure, we found that the average tenure for our survey respondents was approximately 5 years, with a significant portion of our survey respondents, approximately 25%, being relatively new APCO officers with less than 2 years of experience. Therefore, the basis of our recommendation of 5% is based on Section 316 of the APCD Management Resolution. In short, that section of the Management Resolution affords that after a meritorious performance review, a 5% increase be granted with appropriate retroactivity to the date it was due. I do want to recognize that technically the APCD Management Resolution does not apply to the agreement or the employment terms of the executive officer, but we're making this recommendation in line with internal equity considerations, and your board may choose to amend that recommendation however they may see fit. From a practical perspective, I did want to notify that our current executive officer is smack dab at the middle point of the salary range, so there is room for progression above and beyond 5%, should that be preferred by your board. I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions, Matt? I'd just like to share, that we did have a standing committee meeting on this item, and I just want to share that I believe, this is my belief, that Ali has done an excellent job, for our APCD. He's demonstrated competency, and also that he's done an excellent work on our budget, a very conservative budget for the district, and he's done a really, really good job. I've worked with Ali for some time. In fact, just to share with you, I've been with APCD for quite a while, even going back to Michael Villegas and Lucky, and remember when he worked with Lucky, he was there as a second in command and doing an excellent job for the agency. So, and I think he's very dependent and independent person that gives a board, or especially myself anyway, good recommendations, and I'm sure that other board members might feel that way or not, but I think that he deserves the 5%, and my understanding is that, what was a 19% difference? Can you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah, sure. So he's currently at the midpoint of the salary range. In order to bring him to the top of the salary range, it would be an approximate 19.28% increase.
To get him to the top, yeah, okay. So my recommendation, that I think he deserves, the 5% and potentially more, but right now, he's been there approximately a year, but I think that he deserves the 5%, I just want to share my rating was a 5%, 5 from 1 to 5, and I'm sure that a lot of people say, how can anybody get a 5? But I can share it with, you start with a 5 and you work down if you're not a good manager, but he's competent and stayed there, so that would be my motion.
I'll second your motion.
A second by Parvin. Any other concerns? Any public comments on this item?
We received no advance requests to speak.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mr. Chair, I echo all of your comments and don't disagree with them. The one thing that did come to mind when I did see the correspondence and the response to it was, in the Navy Reserve, we do a command climate survey once a year, sometimes once every other year, just to do an anonymous feedback, lessons learned. It may be appropriate to do something like that with the broader staff, and I just bring that up as a suggestion, given the back and forth.
Yeah, we got some comments too, and in fact, I discussed that a little bit with HR, and I think that's has nothing to do really basically with the merit, but it has to do more with HR, and I think the manager, and probably the MOU we might have with the folks there, which I think is an excellent, let's look at it, if that's what you're sharing. Okay. Any other? Okay, we got go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just echo everything that Chairperson Zaragoza said, obviously not with the number of years of experience, but I've been very impressed with his guidance of our board.
Thank you, Andrew. Any other comments? If not, we got a first by Zaragoza, second by Parvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Congratulations, Ali. Thank you so much. So that's the last item I have, so we are adjourned. Thank you so much. Thank you.